Overall, these two webinars will cover 6 key topics. Part one is just initial introduction and the foundation. Part two is about your own reflection, personal reflection, and part three is about cognitive diversity. How you can understand the different type of cognitive diversity among people. What is your cognitive preference, and what is your identity? Then we have emotional diversity and how you can reflect and define your own emotional identity. And part five is about limiting belief. What is preventing you from achieving the full potential of your ideal identity, whatever you want to be. And part six is about putting it all together and practical next steps. So I think part four, five, and six will be covered in the next webinar. So this one tonight, I think will be about 1 hour, 15 minutes for the first 3 topics. So let's start with part one. This one is just we start with the problem statement here. So I think a lot of people I notice, and it's become more common that people become more dissatisfied with their job. On different degrees, some people have a full-on existential quarter life or midlife crisis. Some people they simply feel burnt out at their current job with very little motivation. And some people want to change job, but they are so scared. They don't know what to do. They want to do a different job, but they don't have the courage, or they are stuck in a comfort zone. So a little bit about myself. I guess I was more on the very first case. I was quite sensitive when it come to life meaning and purpose. So from very young, I already had my first existential crisis when I was in high school. I already have question about what am I supposed to do with my life. Um, why is life only about having a job, getting a family, getting a car and a house? What am I supposed to do besides getting a good grades and good job? So, despite having a very good academic background, I had very little energy and motivation to do well in university. I barely passed my exams for my business school. Um, and even the first few years in my career, I was job hopping, trying to find what is my niche. I was not very happy, and I would just try different things. So my first breakthrough was that I feel that I want to do digital marketing, but I had no training in digital marketing. But I feel that one day I want to run my own business like today, so I need to know digital marketing. So my first big step was I managed to change job, get an internship, and then finally get a full-time job as a digital marketing manager in Singapore. Um, and I was happy for a while. I was happy for a while because I know that what I'm doing is serving me in the long term. But after a few years, I realized that that's not everything I want to do. Being a marketing professional is not everything I want to do. I want to have my own business. I want to have time and financial freedom. So there was a few epiphany. There is a few realization that I have. Um, Definitely for I learned from my own experiences. I was changing jobs. I was learning new things. But I realized that it's important to keep the end goal in mind. For me, it was about doing something to have my own business, to about something about helping people and have in something about self-development and psychology. I always keep that in mind. So whatever I was doing, it have to serve a long-term purpose. So it was important that so it's my end goal is to have my own business and my own freedom, and not just about money or security. So so that's why I want to. That was when I discovered things like the MBTI or Enneagram. I learned about cognitive diversity and emotional diversity, and I realized that, for example, my personality, I belong to a certain personality group. I belong to certain temperament. So let's say I know that I learned that I belong to the idealist temperament. So that I am indeed suited to be a good, to be an educator and a social change maker. So even though my family say, okay, you need to make money, you need to settle down, but I know because from what I've learned, I know that I belong to a certain group of people. So my role and my destiny is to help people to to be an educator. So that was when I started to slowly pursue my calling, and I started doing it part time first. So yeah, you don't maybe it's not very practical for you to straight away jump to do something full time like this. So I did my life coaching and training for like 2 years part time in Singapore. Like you can see here, I get my first certification in life coaching, which is called type coach. So I am a type coach certified coach where I can coach people about personalities, MBTI type and personalities. Um, and eventually, a few months ago, I found the courage to at least try, to quit my job full time to see if I can make something big. And so I'm not no longer in Singapore. I'm traveling around. I'm doing things fully online now. So hopefully I can eventually make it into a full-fledged online business so that I can have the freedom that I want. And I think you probably know that it can be tough working for a startup, doing a startup and everything. But I mean, something I want to share with people is that, okay, I'm not like very rich or anything, but at least I have always been confident to tell people that I am very happy doing what I'm doing. I have the energy to work from morning to evening, and I get to meet people and change people's lives. So at least for now, that is something that I'm very happy about. So, and I feel that I can start sharing about it. I think that, okay, there are different factors here that preventing you from truly do what you want to do or have the energy to do what you do. Um, But I think a very big aspect here that I see in a lot of people, maybe not you, because some you already know what you want to do. You want to transition to life coaching. Even Izudin also mentioned he wanted to be a writer. So maybe, but I think I see among a lot of people is that their motivation, their sense of who they are and what they want to do in life is still not strong enough. The key here is cognitive dissonance, like Nita had mentioned. Oh, I want a job, but I also want to pursue.
Exactly. This was one of the reasons I enrolled because I realized that, yeah, I'm going through that cognitive dissonance.
Yeah, so I think that one of the key solution is to build to really deep dive and have that solid sense of identity, and then addressing some of the limiting beliefs that people have to in order to overcome that sense of cognitive dissonance, not here or there, like you mentioned. I think you need both, and finally solving some of the practical aspects as well. But I think a lot of time I think it has to do with the belief. People keep saying, "Oh, this cannot be done. That cannot be done. Oh, I can't do this because of this." But a lot of time it can be done. It's just that need to be flexible a bit in your thinking. So first, let's start with the question of what is a strong identity. I think it's a common sense thing enough, and I distill it into two key aspects: who you are and what do you want to do. Who you are is what is your background, what is your personal story, what is your past, what is your strengths and weaknesses, and then we have what do you want related to who you are in your past. What is your vision of the future? What do you need to do now, and what do you need to do? What do you want to do in the short term and long term? Your desire, your career path, your life purpose. Um, we need to have this question answered in order to have a better, a more focused sense of identity. And I think it's a very common pitfall among people that I have seen when it comes to identity is that one is very short term. Like in death, okay, I just want to make more money. I want to be rich. I want to get a car, a house. I want to impress my friends. I want to impress my family. Uh, it's not wrong, but people, if we are people are too focused on short-term gain and just the immediate results, they they are prone to have identity existential crisis or some identity crisis later, and they don't focus on the long-term goals. They get stuck in the job. Because, oh, I need the money now. I need to impress my friends with a car, so I need a job. And they forget that the job that they need to do is actually not, it's something else. Another more abstract idea is that I think people are very biased. I'm not sure if you have noticed, but people are biased by their own ego. Like people think they know themselves. Oh, this is my strength, this is my weakness. I'm a very logical person. I see a lot of people who are actually not good with logic, think they are very logical. A lot of people think they are very perfect with the way they're understanding, and the problem is with other people. So if they don't have an objective understanding of their strengths and weaknesses, it's very hard to move forward and to truly understand where do they belong. If you are, let's say, if you are more natural or better at feeling or emotions, you are better to be a writer. You know, like you should be in the arts. But because you keep thinking, oh, I'm good at everything, you know, then it's your ego is preventing you from recognizing your true identity. So uh, what I propose is that people should overcome this pitfall by reflect and refine them to make their sense of identity more focused and objective. And how can they do that? You take your memory, your desires, your pains, something that comes naturally to you. If I ask you, okay, what is your memory? What is your desire? You can definitely tell me. But then people should reflect on it and then refine it further with a bigger perspective. What am I doing this for? What am I earning money for? What is the end goal here? And then refine it with more structured framework like MBTI or Enneagram to know that okay, there are different cognitive diversity, there are different type of personality out there. I belong to this group. I'm supposed to do this. This is my destiny, and I'm not supposed to do this and this because that is not my calling. If we are lost, it's very hard to, yeah. So there are a few layers that you can have to go through to truly have a more broad and objective sense of identity. And with that sense of better identity, I believe that is a key, one of the key ingredients I showed just now, that you can overcome that cognitive dissonance and truly focus on what truly matters and take the necessary leap of faith to do the next step in your job or your career. So this is a exercise. A quick, I think, sorry. So I think everyone will need a pen and paper if you have, or you can type on your computer. So in this part, we will do the initial reflection. So this table here will serve as the information, as the initial foundation so that you can work on it later as we go along the webinar. So take your time and fill in the table below with each column 4 to 5 bullets. So the goal here is to recall and quickly fill in some of the column here and create a relatively comprehensive story about yourself, who you are, based on whatever understanding you have now. What is some of your past story and pains that is significant to you? Yeah, like I shared just now about my past as well. So, what do you think are some of your key strengths and weaknesses? And what are some point of concern or insecurity that you have? What are your immediate goals in the next 1 year or 3 years? What are your immediate goals? And your long-term goal, like at the end of your life, what is your life purpose? What is your core driver of your life? Yeah, I think don't spend more. I think 5 minutes will be enough. Whatever come to your mind, just jot it down. Don't need to think too much. We will have more opportunity to reflect on each of these key point and with the reflection later. As I go along, feel free to go back and fill in the any more point that you remember. Uh, you don't have to complete it now also. Anyway, reflection is always to a lot of people it's not a natural thing to reflect. A lot of thing take time. So, but they're all related. So yeah. So okay, so in this part two, it's a simple framework that I think a lot of people know about. It's a Maslow hierarchy of needs. Uh, so as I mentioned just now, a lot of people are too their goals are very short term. Their focus is very short term. They focus on a lot on basic needs, which is like safety, uh, or physiological, like having enough food to eat, having enough money to feed themselves, safety. Those are important. But I think at this day and age, Nita mentioned, we are at the age where a lot of people don't have to worry about food, finding food to eat or having enough to feed themselves. Um, so people, it's important for us to keep in mind what are the higher purpose, what are the higher objective to for us to self-actualize. I mean, before self-actualize and reaching your full potential, we also have to think about love and belonging or self-esteem. I mean, okay, sexual intimacy or love is something that a lot of people talk about as well. I think it's not a big thing, or even achievement is so not. There's a lot of things people talk about. So what we usually aim at here is self-actualization. Anyway, this is just one framework to keep in mind. I don't say this is a truth, but it's a good guide to for people to keep in mind. Okay, there's a bigger thing than just earning money. So maybe it's a good thing you keep in mind. Okay, anything else that you feel like? I mean, and another idea here is that the basic needs are important too. So maybe in your immediate or short-term goals, if you need something, you need money, you need love, feel free to find them. But keep in mind, the long-term goal is that I hope and we hope that we can all achieve this eventually. Okay. Another exercise that I like us to go through, this one is more relevant to the end goal, long-term goal. Imagine that this is your funeral. You are here, 50s, 70 years down the road. Try to close your eyes and visualize a room where you are in an open casket coffin and you look very nice and well adorned like this, and you are surrounded by your loved ones, by your relative, and your friends and your family will start giving speeches. They will write story about you. They will write thing about you. What do you want to be remembered as? What are the top three things? What are the top three values or things that you hope people will remember you for? I think it's one is just to keep in mind that okay, a lot of time we spend too much time at work. We spend too much time chasing money. We forget to spend time with their loved one. Or sometimes, we make a lot of money, but our loved one don't want like hate us. They only remember us as someone who is always absent, someone who is always not available, not mentally available. Um, and would you think your life is fulfilled at that moment? Have you done everything that you have wished in your life? Have you started trying? Yeah, anyway, it's just a visual exercise for you to close your eyes. And think about it. Maybe just spend 1 minute to think about okay, if we continue doing what we are doing now or in the next few years, just focus on the short term goals now. Would you see yourself from a coffin? Would you feel happy if we don't do anything different? how would we want to be remembered? And if anything is missing, what else do we need to do? The next steps. All right. Okay. I think that's it for now. This is the first part. Any questions so far, or anyone want to share anything before I move on to part three, which is cognitive diversity mastery? So as we have established the baseline based on what is your current understanding of who you are, the strengths, weaknesses, what you want to do in life. Let's take a look at using a more scientific approach and one of the latest framework in personality psychology. So a lot of people didn't realize that not everyone is the same. That there are different type of people, different type of thinking. You probably have heard of introvert and extroverts. That is quite scientific, but there are way more different type of people and way of thinking than just introversion and extroversion. There are more than that. So we're able to understand people think differently and where do we belong? What type of personality, what type of temperament we are will help us a lot in refining our sense of identity. So there are a few learning points in this section. One is to gain a fundamental understanding of cognitive types and knowing what is your preference. Introversion, extroversion, thinking and feeling, intuition and sensing. And apply your understanding to understand the four temperaments. And then based on that, answer and build your cognitive story. What is your cognitive story? And use that to refine your original understanding of yourself. So you probably have known some of these frameworks, horoscope, Enneagram, MBTI, Big Five, DISC, and stereotypes. I mean, there's so many different people we meet every day. There's so many different behaviors. Our brain have to categorize, have to naturally do categorization and stereotyping. Oh, these people are like this, or people, and different generation, different age group. Okay, this nationality like this. Oh, male like this, female like this. So we naturally do a lot of, I would say, sometimes a lot of unscientific um, stereotyping. But that is the most common thing that our brain, our mind naturally do. Then that definitely horoscope is very popular, but it's not very scientific. Then the ISC is a bit more corporate, but I think it's not very in depth. So usually in my training, and I like to promote is two popular framework: MBTI, Myers-Briggs Type Indicator, and the Enneagram. So Myers-Briggs MBTI is more towards the cognitive preferences, cognitive types. It's about how your brain process information. There are 16 type of way. No, there are 8 cognitive function to process information, which result in 60 different types. And the Enneagram is more about emotional fixation. It's like the 9 scenes. There are 9 different type of passions. And this passion need to different scenes, different. It's about anger, fear, uh, shame, on this negative emotion are represented by these 9 different types. So this will be covered in the next webinar, but today we'll be covering more about MBTI and the different cognitive types. Because I think not only they are popular, I wouldn't say they are the latest or the most scientific, but they are very popular and they have very uh, established foundation, theoretical foundation for you to learn. You can do many things with MBTI. A lot of room for self-study and further study. There are diverse applications for the understanding of cognitive types like dating, career path, resolve conflict, communication style, There are many other sub frameworks, more later framework that you can learn based on your original understanding of cognitive types. You learn about socionics, interaction style, and later we learn about temperaments. They're all based on the same foundation, cognitive types and cognitive preferences. So if you know about this, you can do a lot of other things in the future. So what is cognitive preference? Maybe I can ask you to take your pen and try to sign your name with your natural hand, maybe your right hand. And then you take the same pen and try to sign your name with the other hand. Try to do it and see how it feels. Try one with your right hand and try one with your left hand. So how do you feel? A lot of people have the understanding that introverts are less talkative, basically, less energy in social setting, and extroverts are more energetic. It can be true in some sense, but let's say, for example, like me or you as a life coach, if it's a topic that you are passionate about, if you are hosting an event, you can clearly definitely talk a lot. So if someone look at you like, oh, you are not an introvert, but actually you are. It's just that it's a topic that you love, or is it the people you trust? You can talk a lot with your best friend or small groups. And that is a problem with learning about type and cognitive cognition is that there is a difference between behaviors and types. Type is like the skeleton. It's like the engine. But what actually come out in as behavior might not be the same. Uh, so what I always advocate is people understand the mechanism, the true definition of these dimensions, so that you can learn to recognize them despite different behaviors. So I always focus on the original definition by Carl Jung, which is the Swiss psychiatrist who is the father of these frameworks about personalities. MBTI is just a later framework actually. So we are basing this definition on Jungian personality types. So what is introvert, extrovert? Carl Jung always say that there are two different worlds that as any psychological being we are aware of. There is the outer world, there is the outer world of people and objects, of activities that are not part of who we are. It can be object, people, activity, ideas, other people, anything that's going on that is not part of ourselves. And there is the subjective self, ourselves. What is us? What makes us unique? What makes Nita, what makes Remy, what makes Izudin different from the rest of the people? It's about your story, it's about your memory, it's about your feeling, your priority in life, your values. What belongs to your identity versus what doesn't belong to you. That is the idea. Yourself versus others versus the outside world. So introvert and extrovert is a matter of attitude toward these two worlds. Extroverts, anyone who extrovert, whether they are talkative or not talkative, as long as they seek to adapt, they seek feedback first from other people first. They want to please. Basically, they're a bit like they like to please other people, please the outside first, and they seek feedback from other people from the tribe first. Then they're extroverts. Introverts, on the other hand, tend to orientate away from the feedback, from the noise. They want to first listen to their own personal feedback first, their own subjective. Okay, people like this, but I don't like this. People think like this, I don't think like this. They tend to go away. They tend to try to listen to themselves more. So let's say, for example, this is the same picture of a bridge in the UK. Four different artists draw four different pictures that look different. So introverts are like the artists. They don't care about being realistic. They care about, okay, my interpretation is more important. What do I think? You know, my subjective interpretation is more important. Yeah, those are the very nuanced differences between introvert and extrovert that is very important for you to know. as you learn further along the way. Of course, everyone can use both, but like I mentioned about just now about what is cognitive preference. That is something that is feel more natural to you, like left hand and right hand. What do you prefer over time? What feel more comfortable to you? And introversion, extroversion is something that neuroscience has proven that exists. The extrovert actually have shorter neural pathway. They can talk and think at the same time. And actually, the more they talk and interact with the environment, the easier for them to process information because thinking and talking go together. Introverts, they tend to have much uh, longer neural pathway, so they can do a lot of thinking, internal thinking without having to interact and talking with the environment. They can do a lot of processing, standalone processing. So introvert. So the key here is that introvert. The reason why they usually are less sociable is because they tend to get overloaded by external stimulation. If they talk too much, they get overstimulated. Extrovert, they can do a lot more. They have a much easier time thinking and talking and do everything. Does that make sense? Some quick way to identify introvert and extrovert, INE. Again, these are just behaviors. This doesn't apply to everyone, but these are just some guide for you to know. Extrovert, they tend to have higher energy level. They talk faster. They're more busy. They're more hands-on. Introvert are more calm, more collected, usually slower in their talking. Clothing, extrovert tend to dress more colorful. Introvert more subdued, more understated. Lifestyle, extrovert have more fast play, more activities, bigger social circle. Introverts are more prefer solitude, smaller meetup, smaller group. They have fewer hobbies. Extroverts tend to value social approval, teamwork, productivity, collective needs. Introverts tend to value uniqueness, individuality, authenticity, the kind of thing. They have expertise, think they are more individualistic. Does that make sense? Again, these are just surface behaviors, so just for quick way to read people, but always remember the true definition. It's about the orientation towards the outside world versus the inner world of the self.